Hello, Kevin.
Hello, William.
Are we allowed to talk about the cold? Are we allowed to talk about it?
It's freezing. It's absolutely fucking freezing.
Do you ever remember back in the 80s? Because I fucking remember it. Anytime I got in the car, I went to a road trip in our car at home during winter months, just being fucking frozen in the car because you would have
have the windows down.
The windows down. Or we'd have the windows open, that little crack. You could open the windows. We had a kind of a 3-door car, and you could open the back window by this little latch. So you got kind of a bit of a breeze. And the only heat that was coming in was from your parents' breath.
I had the opposite. My mum wouldn't let the window go down because it would ruin her hair. So you'd be sweltering in the summer. That'll do as a preamble. Fuck it.
Yeah, fuck them. Fuck us. Fuck everyone. Fuck the world.
The best bits.
I'll use small words that you'll be sure to understand, you warthog-faced buffoon.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
You are stupid, you have no taste, a lousy sense of humor, and you smell.
Don't call me stupid.
I'm going to have to get sensible a bit.
Okay.
Beep, beep. Hello and welcome to the best.
I just drooled on myself. I just drooled on myself. Beep, beep. Blue Peter?
Oh, God. No, okay. Hello and welcome to the Best Bits, a movie podcast that's always on the move. No, that's not it. A movie podcast where we pick our favourite scenes from randomly selected, weirdly specific themes. I'm your co-host, Kevin, navigating the highway of cinema with one hand on the wheel. This is 100-bit films and 400-bit episodes of TV in the rear view, and riding shotgun is my co-host, writer of 3 films, a Christmas special, and yep, a Star Wars. Buckle up, bitches. We're hitting the road. Will, hop in. That was such a mess.
Oh,
that's the worst one I've ever done.
But you want to know something? You just brought back a memory of college, right? Last day of college, going into winter. And I remember I was walking from the college back to my house to pick up my bags to get a train home. And I was looking forward to a few old weeks at home, just doing fuck all. Being a 90s student as I was, where you could do fuck all, versus now where everyone has to have 6 jobs. And on the way, I remember walking the cold streets back, kind of with that, I'm driving home for Christmas mood going on. And all of us...
I hate that song.
That's a great song.
Least favourite Christmas song.
One of my favourites.
No, it's not.
And all of a sudden, a car pulls up, beep, beep. And I looked over and it's Justin McDermott. I'm like going, Justin, like one of my best buddies. Like I was Justin's best man and Justin was my best man. We're that sort of buddies. And it just says, come here, I'll drop you home. And I was like, oh, class. So I dropped into the car and was like, I'm going to be getting my train in about an hour. And I get drive to go back to the house. And as soon as I got in and he pulled away, he says, we're not going home. We're going to Sligo. And we were in Tralee, by the way. And this was in the 90s. And so Justin kidnapped me for a day on a road trip. We're up to Sligo. And it was fucking brilliant. But it had all of the things of a road movie where, we had the excitement, that bubbling energy.
Did you die at the end?
We had a blowout of a car. We had a car blowout. We met some drugged up people. We had some scares. It felt like when we finished it, we felt, oh my God, things had changed in our lives. We had an experience over 24 hours and it felt like it was a week. And you just conjured that for me.
What did you do? You drove up to Sligo, turned around and drove back?
No, he had a conference up in Sligo that night and he was just like, come on, I'll go up to Sligo for the crack. But it was in the olden days before all of the dual carriageways were and bypasses were there. So it took about 10 hours. So it took us forever in a small white Opel Corsa to make the journey. And it was 4 of us. It ended up being 4 of us in the car. It was just mad. And we broke down in the dark in the middle of a busy road, had to walk down a lane to a farmer, knock on his door, and we saw the late was that late. It was Friday night. The late was on, and we knocked on his door, and he came out smelling of whiskey. This is pre-mobile phones or early mobile phones, And we said, we've broken down the lane. And he just went, oh, yeah.
He probably thought he was hallucinating.
Oh, yeah.
Hitchhikers, a home
No
invasion.
help.
You were in a road trip and he was in a home invasion.
Oh, God.
I've had nothing really as eventful as that in terms of road trips. I mean, we'll talk about movies in a second, but I took a road trip in New Zealand where we went to Moraki. There was about three of us. We hired a car and we drove there and we stopped off at some places where it was like, there was a lane called Hooker Road or something. And I have a photograph of all of us underneath the sign, like doing the stupid thing, like, hey, where all the hookers are. But it's like that place in New Zealand where you might have seen it, but they've got a whole strand that's got these perfectly spherical boulders.
Oh,
They're like giant marbles. And New Zealand is like incredible because the topography changes like every 10 minutes. You can go from like palm trees to snow-capped mountains and like glass lakes, and still probably my favorite place on the planet, New Zealand. So that's my only road trip. But I didn't meet any druggies. We were probably the druggies in the car.
Yeah.
But
we
were hiring a car, so we had to make sure to bring it back in good nick.
I properly have had some amazing road trips in my life. But road trips that have been full of drama. Honestly, to convey them, it would take far too much time when we should be talking about road trip movies. But it's a kind of a genre that's near and dear to my heart because...
When did you get your driver's license?
I wasn't young. I think I got it when I was like in my late 20s.
Same. Because I'd gone to Los Angeles and I couldn't drive.
Yeah.
I've told you that story.
Yeah.
Where I was like,
yeah.
I scared the absolute shit out of the assistant that had hired me when she realised that I had to go and pick up tickets for Tom Cruise and I couldn't...
You have to go pick up tickets with Tom Cruise. So you have to pick up Tom
For
Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
I would love it if you were actually had to pick up Tom Cruise. You had no driver's license. And Tom was like, hey, hey, Kev, let's see you drive.
No, it was his film. It was for a Tom Cruise film, and I had to pick him up for the producer. Really so, man.
Okay.
Anyway, the assistant said to me, I need you to go and get these tickets.
Right. Yes.
And I said...
Yes.
I said, because I bluffed my way into all these jobs. I've been in the Richard Donner Company. And the assistant was saying, so you're going to have to go do these errands. And I'm like going, yeah, sure, no problem. Oh, God, the fucking gumption of me. Anyway, she says to me, you've got to go get these tickets. And I says, I don't have a car. And she goes, you don't have a car? And I goes, no. And she goes, you can take my car. And I goes, I don't have a license. And she said, it'll be fine. Just run it back. And I said, I don't know how to drive. And she went, you don't know how to drive. She thought she was going to get fired. She'd hired an errand boy who couldn't go on any errands. But I was just that charming. I was just that charming.
She just didn't want to be fired. She just didn't want to be fired. Just go.
God bless her. She ended up raiding the petty cash and getting a taxi for me.
Oh, my God.
Oh, funny times. I forgot entirely what I was going to talk about. We're talking about road trip movies, and here's the thing, Will.
Yeah.
We did car scene episodes.
Yeah.
We talked about some great moments that happened in cars there. Also, when I was going through my list, there was a ton of films that we've already spoken about.
Yeah, for instance.
Dumb and Dumber.
Hey, want to hear the most annoying sound in the world? Guys!
Absolutely. That would be a great road trip movie. Definitely. Best buddy comedy scene. If you want to hear us talk about Dumb and Dumber, go back to that one.
Paper Moon.
Moles, let's give him some money.
No.
Just a little bit. We got $305.16.
Whole nother business giving it away.
It's my money too, you know. $200 belongs to me, and don't you forget that.
You want it? Well, just put my share in my pocket and I'll take you to a train station. How do you like that?
I haven't seen Paper Moon.
You need to watch Paper Moon because, honestly, if I hadn't spoken about it so much on Coming of Age, I think it was, it would be in contention for my pick for this episode.
Yeah.
Because that is a glorious film. Ryan O'Neill and his daughter Tatum O'Neill. He's a con man. He takes his daughter that he didn't really know he had. He sort of is her ward, and he is transporting her basically to get some money for doing it. He's a grifter, and they just have this great rapport, and they're changed by the end of it.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful film. What are some other ones that came up? I had a whole list of them.
We definitely could say Midnight Run.
You know, when we change buses in Chicago, you're going to have a couple hours. I think you would be a better man if you use that time to look up your ex-wife and daughter. It's a perfect opportunity.
Why don't you mind your own business?
Of course, Midnight Run, amazing.
Yeah, that's
one of my favorite films.
It's a road trip movie, whatever way you cut it. It's a buddy comedy movie, but it's also a road trip movie. I would also say, unless it's for me, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, even though it probably wouldn't be on your list, it is for me. We've spoken about that one recently.
I like that film.
I like me.
I like that film. I just don't like that one
you don't
scene.
like scene.
My customers like me.
Yeah, for me, that would be way up my list.
And I would like that scene if he didn't have the music underscoring it, where it all gets very saccharine and schmaltzy.
Yeah.
But another one is My Brothers. We don't need to talk about that.
Have we ever spoken about My Brothers?
Well, take it away. You wrote a road trip film. I wrote one as well, but it never got produced. But yours did.
Yeah.
So tell me, why did you write a road trip story?
You know what? My Brothers was very, very, very loosely based on some real facts in my own life.
Say them first, you retard.
I am retarded, Dave. I don't get it. Why are you laughing? Wow.
They're lovely lads.
Like the fact that I have two brothers in my family. We used to go to Ballybunion on our holidays and whatnot. My dad was really sick when I was growing up.
Was he?
Yeah, he was, yeah. My dad was sick for a number of years growing up. And for me, growing up, I just remember being in a car a lot. I remember going on journeys to places, going to matches, going here and going there. And some of the kind of the biggest memories I have with my family have been driving on holiday.
That was the best thing ever.
Here's the thing that I noticed a big difference between your upbringing and my upbringing. I lived in the city. Everything in the city was walkable. I could go everywhere on foot. I was 10 minutes into town and back and forth. Where you were, you couldn't live without a car.
No, you had to have a car. There's no footpath near us. You had to have a car to go into town to get milk. So there was all these trips. So I think being in a car, you've said it before even, is a great place for kind of conversations to come up where fights happen or things are resolved or things are revealed to each other. And I actually think some of the
worst fights you can have are like in a car. If you're driving and somebody's in the passenger seat pissing you off.
Yeah.
My God, you can actually consider, I'll hit that wall. I'll take us right into that wall. You can really like let your guard down because you're not looking directly into each other's eyes.
Yeah.
And you can have those heart-to-heart, like tell me what's on your mind conversations, and it won't be as intimidating.
Yeah, because you're kind of both focusing on the journey. You're both focusing on the mechanic. Well, one person's focusing on the mechanics of driving, another person's just kind of looking out the window, and you're not looking at each other's eyes. And you're both on the same kind of path. So for me, an awful lot of, because I grew like so many other Irish people, we grew up with parents who were born of the 1940s and 50s and in that kind of emotionally repressed structure. I have this feeling of being more open with my parents and my family in car journeys than I did at home.
But you know, when you talk about, it's become a buzzword, but generational trauma, it's definitely there. You do get to a point where you realize, and I think it's that moment that happens in every kid's life where you realize your parents aren't as smart as you thought they were.
Yeah.
They don't know everything. They're fallible. And then you get even further along in your life and you realize that, my God, they didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
And they were just doing what they could. They were really winging it. And that kind of gives you a little bit more sympathy for them. But also, you kind of realize they were a product of their time.
Exactly. That's it. They were doing the best they could with what they had, what the tools they had available to them, internally and externally. And I think they did the best they could. My parents, I know, absolutely know, they did their best for us, the best they could possibly do for us, you know. And like, this actually goes back to a road movie, and this is
but not all people are equipped to be parents.
I agree with you. Definitely not all people are equipped to be parents. But I remember, so I know this is long-winded, and we can trim this down, right?
Pop-bot, cut all this.
No.
Bitch.
Yeah, my parents never had the words. I don't ever remember them saying "I love you," you know, or anything like that, right?
Really?
Yeah, I don't ever remember hearing "I love you," you know, and it being said really, truly. But I remember feeling it all the time, right?
See, this is the thing.
Actions.
I don't remember my dad ever saying "I love you," but I know he loves me.
Yeah. So I know my dad used to say "I love you" in his own little ways.
The front of the hand rather than the back.
And the back of the head instead of the front of the face. But my dad would do it in ways where he would, let's say, if there was a match on, I know he would drive me into town to get videotapes. And he would sit patiently in the car while I would deliberate for an hour in the video shop. And he would just sit there and read a book and rarely complain about me taking an hour to go and pick out a videotape or something like that. I remember we used to drive to Ballybunion for our holidays, which is where the location of the destination of the kids and my brothers are going to. And I remember us taking that epic long drive when we were children. And in the research for when I was writing my brothers, I actually asked my dad, I said, would you mind we do that drive so I kind of know what it's like? And I remember him just...
Did you really?
Yeah, he drove and I just sat on board and I had my cameras and stuff like that. And I was kind of making notes and just kind of just soaking it up. And I remember that journey with him. And
did he ever think you were away with the fairies? Did he ever think like...
Definitely. Come here. I was always... But you know what? To be fair to my father... He never said it to me, even though I know he felt it. He never ever disparaged me, or he never did anything like that.
My mum would do it almost every week.
But I want to get to one time where when he was really, really, really ill, I was, you know, in that awkward like 12, 13, 14-year-old phase where you're still a child, but you're not a child anymore. You know, that sort of way. And I remember I was working this kind of connects back to my brothers because the oldest brother and my brothers as a delivery boy for working with a bread delivery man. A dealer. And I was delivering bread, and around Christmas time is one of the busiest periods. Like, you know, you're up, you could be doing 2 runs in a day and up at the crack of dawn, and it's really exhausting. And it came to Christmas Eve, right? And I must have been, maybe I was 12. It came to Christmas Eve and I'd kind of missed the whole build up to Christmas. Like being able to go to Cork was a big ceremony in our lives. You know, I remember we might get a card with a €20 from my grandmother and my godmother and £20, a huge amount of money, and you would go and buy yourself something special with it, like, you know. And I kind of had missed all that, and I went, fuck, and I really wanted to go and buy a game or something like that. And I just remember going home on Christmas Eve, and I kind of missed it all. I was exhausted. And my mother just said to my father, he says, he didn't get a chance to go to Cork. And my dad, and so ill as well at this stage, he just got the keys of the car and he says, come on. And he just like hopped into the car. I remember he just drove me to Limerick. It's
the wrong way.
Just to punish me. But
terrible.
No, what it was, listen to this. I wanted to buy a game. All the shops it's getting so late on Christmas Eve, all the shops were closed. So he rang shops in Limerick and they said one shop had it and they said they'd hold on to it and they were closing by such an hour. And he says, come on, hop in the car. And he just drove it off. And I always remember that drive, getting to the shop and getting this kind of like Christmas gift for myself and coming back. And I remember feeling so much gratitude for him for doing that. And that's the way my father showed his love. He would drive places for you. He would take you someplace. He would go someplace. He would show up. He would he was just, so driving was an act of love, you know, going places, taking you somewhere. And he didn't have the words, but he would just be there, you know? So, so road trips are near and dear to my heart.
That's very sweet. So to me, road trip stories or road movies are about taking in the world around you. Yeah. And there's enough of a lag time between the departure and the destination where characters can evolve. and relationships can form or fall apart. And those are the kind of films that I think this category is about.
Yeah.
Not so much like car chase movies, not so much just chase movies in general.
These are chamber pieces. I think road trip movies are chamber pieces, really, where you've got you're in a confined space with characters primarily. Their chamber is moving on the road, on wheels.
So I guess I could tell you a couple where they came up as road movies, and then they weren't so much about the road. One of them was Lost in America.
This is David and Linda Howard. They're happily married.
I want to have sex with you right here. Right now, right here.
And they're about to have a day.
This is it.
They'll remember the rest of their lives.
David, you're fired. Fired? Oh, I'm fired!
Now, they're going to drop out.
We have to touch Indians. We have to see the mountains and the prairies and the whole rest of that song.
Set out to find the American dream.
Well, the movie you're basing your whole life on, Easy Rider, they had no nest egg.
They had a giant nest egg. They had all this cocaine.
And wind up lost in America.
To America, look out.
I've been trying to watch for years and I haven't found it.
You'd really enjoy it. I think I said to you, you'd love that film, but it's not really a road movie. So basically, Albert Brooks is a character who is heavily influenced by Easy Rider. It's sort of on the back of his mind. It's like, let's just drop out. Let's just quit our rat race lifestyle and let's hit the road. Let's explore. And he buys an RV. What do we call them over here? They're not camper vans.
No, they're camper vans. Yeah, we call them camper vans.
It's one of those big camper vans. The other one's got a kitchen and it's got a bedroom and a shower and all that kind of stuff. But they go to Las Vegas. And the wife, who's the lead from Airplane, you know, the very ditzy air stewardess, she's the Albert Brooks' wife. She gambles all their money, blows all their savings, and so they're dead broke. And he obviously plays neurotic better than anybody else. And it's very funny, it's very enjoyable, and it's not so much about them being on the road as much as what happens to them when they decide to make this decision to quit their lives. And I enjoyed it, but I don't know that it fits into this category, so I thought I would just mention it.
And I'll give you one that I don't think quite fits into this category, even though it was on a lot of lists. And I watched it for this topic, was David Lynch's Wild at Heart, which I hadn't seen up to now. And Wild at Heart, even though, Nicolas Cage and Laura Dern are kind of traveling, it doesn't. We spend so much time going back to these other characters. It feels like it's a film set in one location, you know, even though they are on a journey, but we are connected to the same kind of characters throughout it. I feel because of that, it kind of breaks the road trip kind of categorization that we're going for.
Yeah, it's like if there's a part of a journey is built into the story versus the whole movie is about the journey.
Yeah.
I think that's the distinction. He's done a much better road movie though, which is
what I'm going to bring up.
Okay, and the way that you gesticulated there is like it's the one that you're going to bring up at the very, very end.
Quite possibly. Or near the end, or I might swap it around. I don't know. Kevin. Yeah.
Okay, well, we will slowly get there in the end. Just languidly get there. I love that film. It came up before. I can't remember where it came up, but it came up before. So I was like, well, don't need to talk about that one. Will obviously disagrees with me, but then there are the ones that are like...
What was that Mr. who brought up Die Hard for their best pick only a couple episodes ago?
But when did we bring up Die Hard? It never came up as a scene pick.
Multiple times you brought up Die Hard.
But not as a scene pick.
Yes.
At some stage, you've got to put it into the pantheon. It's got to...
That's why I want to put...
have one.
That's why I'm putting thingy into the pantheon. I'm putting this into the pantheon. Whatever it is called. That film.
Midnight Run. Yeah.
Continue, sorry. Continue.
There are comedies which I didn't revisit for this. I've revisited a lot. I've watched about 12, 15 road movies. Wow. And apart from one that I thought was just absolute dog shit, I enjoyed all the rest of them. Cannonball Run, Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah.
I can tell you that one of the worst films I ever saw in the cinema, a film that I wanted to claw my hair out, was Rat Race.
Rat Race. I actually just went, it was a Rat Race. It was Rat Race. Even though some people now say, Rat Race, that was a good movie. I'm going, hold on a second. That was
was
dog shit.
Terrible.
Yeah,
it
awful.
was. it was rat shit. I hated it.
It was a really bad film. So there's no way. But it's following on from this in the spirit of Cannonball Run and Smokey and the Bandit and whatnot. Even though I know Cannonball Run was crap, I know it was bad. But when I was a kid,
I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed the shit. It was like a cartoon. I particularly loved the outtakes and bloopers at the end, which we definitely brought up in our best outtake scene or best, end credits or whatever it was. They're definitely, they were of their time. If you were a certain age, you loved them. I don't know if they work well now, but I enjoyed them at the time.
But those films allowed characters from the deep south and from the sort of the central part of America to sort of become the protagonists of the story. So it wasn't really like coastal characters. So an awful lot of these films are set in Arizona and Texas and New Mexico and things like that. So you see a lot of the same types of characters, a lot of like MAGA people as the front and center in these stories.
Yeah.
And then there were the films that I've seen them before and I really enjoyed them. I put them on my list, but I didn't revisit them for this. And those are films like A Perfect World, that Kevin Costner film, directed by Clint Eastwood, where he's kidnapped a little boy and they have a bonding experience on the road.
Yeah.
Ends tragically. This is the other thing, right? I was surprised, just like with heist films, that the vast majority of road movies end in tragedy. They end in death. People may make it to the end, but they don't get to enjoy the destination.
It's bittersweet.
So it's, death. They die. Like Easy Rider. They get killed. And it's really abrupt and sort of like shocking.
Easy Rider stars Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper.
Hey, man, everything that we ever dreamed of is in that teardrop gas tank, and you got a stranger over there pouring gasoline all over it.
He won't know what it is, man. He won't know what it is. Don't worry, Billy.
Co-starring Jack Nicholson.
Here's the first of the day, fellas.
Easy Rider. It's the story of a man who went looking for America and couldn't find it anywhere.
Oh, I just can't believe. What are they doing here?
I don't never know, but I don't think they'll make the parish line.
Cannes Film Festival winner. Best film by a new director. Easy Rider.
I didn't really love that film, to be honest with you.
Easy Rider. Same. It was one of those ones I kind of saw late in life because I knew of it being legendary, but then when I actually got to watch it.
So influential.
Absolutely. Totally influential. So made in a drug stupor, though. It was made under the influence of a lot of drugs.
I thought Dennis Hopper directed it really well, though. I thought it was like very well directed.
Yeah.
But it's obviously a total like dropout movie. Like it was funny because in it, Jack Nicholson's character, Jack Nicholson pops up in loads of road movies, but he pops up in it and he has to be told what a dude is. It's like, oh, this was like new slang. People didn't know what dude was.
Wow.
What does he mean, dude? Dude ranch?
Dude. No. Dude means nice guy. Dude means a regular sort of person.
Well, you boys don't look like you're from this part of the country.
Yeah, it's a very abruptly sort of just, he gets killed. It's like, boom, it's over.
Yeah.
So what the fuck? But one of those movies where it doesn't end, it stops.
Yeah, that's literally, and actually a very, very poignant final shot, that helicopter shot. It's like, Jesus, holy shit, that's the end of that. But that was, as you were saying, the golden era was the 70s. And that was because of Easy Rider being such a huge hit.
1969, it sort of kicked off everything.
Yeah, it really did. It kind of drop out, go on the road, get on the highway, that kind of spirit, that because the interstates were a thing. And that changed how people traveled in America as well.
Route 66 is gone. It doesn't exist anymore. There's only like pockets of it left.
Really? I didn't realize it was.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you can't do a straight drive?
No, you can't. I've had a couple of friends that have done like cross-country road trips, and all of them, man to woman, said, don't do it. It's just not worth it. It's like you start to lose your mind after a while because it's days and days and days of driving in a straight line with nothing on either side of you. It's I did that, and actually in Australia, I went up the center of Australia. Australia now is as big as the US. Yeah. It's fucking huge. And I do remember there was a stretch of a full day where, and I love, like, when I'm not driving, just like zoning out, listening to music, looking out the window. We were all in a camper van heading from Adelaide up to, where was it? Cooper Pedy. And Cooper Pedy is a town that's underground. And it was just red desert everywhere you looked. Just nothing. Straight road, flat, on and 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 on for 12 hours. And the States is like that. Just, endless plains.
I'm just back from, a couple of months ago, I was in Oklahoma and did a lot of driving over there, and it's a lot of not seeing anybody, a lot of big fields, and other cars maybe passing you every now and again, but you do get to feel quite lonesome, and you get a sense of the vastness of the place, the sense of, it makes you feel quite small.
I remember driving actually to Las Vegas. I got a coach, and I just remember how bleak it felt, because it was literally desert, city. It felt like it shouldn't exist. It felt like, you're coming in from outer space and you land on a planet. The hell? How could you live there? Like, just the idea that if you just drive 20 minutes outside the boundary of the city, it's fucking desert. You're going to die.
Yeah.
It's so inhospitable. Yeah. And that was easily the most depressing place I've ever been to in my life. And I've been to Limerick.
I was wondering where you were going to sting that one. Oh, God. But Limerick is a lady.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, so then some other ones I saw years back, and I really enjoyed them.
Yeah.
But there was a film that had Whoopi Goldberg and Drew Barrymore in it, and it was called The Boys on the Side.
Oh, God, I'm aware of this film. I think I may have even seen this film. Right, okay. You enjoyed it?
A very sweet story.
Yeah.
Other ones, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Of course. It would be on a lot of people's lists. I'm not a massive fan of that film. But yeah, it's on a lot of people's lists, definitely.
So will I tell you the one film that I watched for this? Because I've not really spoken now about the ones that I discovered for this, or
please,
or uncovered for this.
Yeah.
This is the thing that I love about the podcast, right? Aside from just getting to like talk about films, is it focuses me down to finally watch the films that I should have watched all along, and discovering films that I love. So ones I would just never get round to.
Yeah.
And one of them is definitely not Convoy from 1978.
Did you watch it?
I did.
Breaker 19, this here's a rubber duck. You got a copy on me, Big Ben? Come on. Yeah, 10-4, Big Ben, for sure. By golly, it's clean clear to Flagtown. Come on. Yeah, it's a big 10-4 there, Big Ben. Yeah, we definitely got the front door, good buddy. Mercy sakes alive, looks like we've got us a convoy.
It stars Chris Christopherson. It's Sam Peckinpah's most successful film of his entire career.
So that was a film that was inspired. The inspiration for the film was the song. The song came first.
It's got an awful soundtrack. It's got like circus music in it and fucking...
Well, that song.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember this being a big deal one day when some house we were at who had a video recorder says, "We've rented Convoy," and it was like, what? Oh my God, because everyone got excited, and I was like going, Have
you seen it?
I saw it then. I saw it when I was like maybe, I don't know, 5, 6, 7. I don't know what age I was. But I remember everyone being excited and me being excited. But I remember all these trucks lining up, and having just them charged towards the camp. Is it just trucks lining up and just driving?
It's like kids taking a load of trucks and just like spinning them all around the carpet, like boom, breaker. Right. It felt to me like a Dukes of Hazzard episode.
Right, okay.
It was really awful, like terrible.
It's on no lists.
But there was like a ton of those CB movies. Everyone was like getting the buzz off of like Breaker coming. Yeah.
It was the success of Smokey and the Bandit. So, Smokey and the Bandit was such a huge hit, and that character, the character trope of well, obviously that's spun out Dukes of Hazzard, but the character trope of what's his name, the sheriff and his sidekick. There was one.
Bo Hicks or Bo Hicks, whatever.
And there were versions of that character in so many other different films, like Superman 3. He appeared in Superman 3. He even feels like he was in one of the
Live and Let Die.
Live and Let Die, which predated that, but it just felt like that whole era. This character seemed to just.
I'm racist, y'all. Yeehaw!
And he had like a hound dog beside him or whatever it was. But just felt that
you boys hippies.
That was in that year. It was in that decade. That decade was the decade of the.
They walk up to somebody sitting at a diner and going like, "Are you boys black? We don't like black boys around here. No, sir, we're not black. We're good white boys. Ah, that's good.
Give me some grits and a cup of coffee."
10-4, Big Ben. What's your 20? Omaha. Billy, I don't know what's been up there.
All the other ones that I watched, I loved, and they were predominantly all 70s movies, apart from 2 films from the 80s.
Okay, well, give them to me.
Rain Man.
I got all my money tied up in these cars, and if I don't get my money out, I am over. I am finished. Do you understand that?
Charlie Babbitt thought he knew everything.
What is this? Who is this guy?
Raymond is your brother.
My brother? I don't have a brother. Just thought maybe you'd like to go to Los Angeles with me.
Charlie, let's take him home. Come on. This makes no sense.
Well, I found out a few days ago that I have a brother and I want to be with him, and I'm supposed to give him up?
Dustin Hoffman, Tom Cruise, Rain Man, rated R. Starts Friday, December 16th at theaters everywhere.
Okay, that's on my list.
Okay, well then take it away.
I know Rain Man because Simon Brew actually covered Rain Man recently on his podcast, the Film Stories podcast, and he kind of highlights how Rain Man definitely misrepresents neurodiverse individuals or people or autism, kind of presenting one particular aspect of autism. No, and I totally understand that and appreciate that. But Rain Man for me is one of those films that when it's on the TV, I can't not watch it.
I thought Tom Cruise was incredible in it.
Yeah,
I thought he was
great.
Fucking brilliant. And the thing that I was also struck by was this is a film that would never happen today because it's a really dislikable character. He's understandable, he's relatable, but he's selfish and he's pissed off.
Yeah.
The Tom Cruise character. He's been raised by a very mean father who's put his brother that he didn't know about into an institution.
Yeah.
And he's cut him out of his will, and he's just constantly like chasing the American dream. He wants money, 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 money. And he kidnaps his Raymond or Rain Man to get his inheritance from the institution which was left it in the trust. The majority of the film, like he calls him all sorts of names. He like, are you fucking whatever?
Roadrunner.
Yeah, are you a roadrunner? And the film is all the stronger for it.
Yeah.
It was like a breath of fresh air for me, even though it's a film that I should have seen years back and it's
Did you just watch it now?
Years.
Did you haven't?
Yeah.
Oh,
everything I'm going to talk about from now on, I've only seen now.
I'm amazed that, I'm amazed that you're only watching it now. This is great. Did you know that Steven Spielberg was supposed to direct that film for the longest time?
And he dropped out to do Last Crusade.
Yes, that's right.
And the studio wouldn't wait for him.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I couldn't imagine Spielberg directing it.
Yeah, it might be too saccharine. I think he might have lent into saccharine. And also, the other big thing that if you bring in Spielberg, you're bringing John Williams with you. And one of the things I love about Rain Man is the score. And it's not John Williams, it's
Hans Zimmer.
It's a brilliant, brilliant score because it doesn't lean into the sentimentality that much at all. But my God, Tom Cruise in it is just wonderful.
I looked up to see whether he was nominated for it. He wasn't.
No, because it was just like Tom Cruise. He's Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is a good bloody actor.
He smashed it in that. That's probably one of his best performances.
Yeah. There's a scene in it. There's a moment in it where they're in a phone booth and Raymond farts. And Tom Cruise is like, Did you just fart? And that happened
improvised?
for real. That was improvised. And Dustin Hoffman did actually fart. I said, Raymond, did you just fart in the scene? And you just feel his frustration.
Same thing happened with the toothpicks. That was all improvised.
He counted them all in that moment.
He was just like 86, 86, 86.
He got it right there. I think it's a beautiful film, and I think it's a perfect embodiment of of what the best of road trip movies should do. They generally are great chamber pieces. They're generally, you see families forced into this very confined space, having to overcome.
At some stage, you cannot avoid having the conversations. You run out of small talk.
Yeah.
And then it gets to the point of like the deeper, more prying questions get asked.
Yeah.
And how they're navigated is as important as them just navigating the road.
Yeah.
And I find road movies very relaxing.
Yeah.
Because there's so little required of me to follow along to the story. It's just they need to get from here to here and stuff happens to them. And I thought it was a great film.
There's a moment that always gets me is the moment where it's the scene of the story of why, the reveal of why Raymond was put into the new institution to begin with. And Tom Cruise is having that revelation of you were put in an institution because our parents were afraid you would hurt me, when in actual fact you were trying to save me. And there's
he's babbling and he's recalling that it was you were the one that was. Yeah, Tom Cruise is a great reactor as well. Like the way that he's responding, you can see him just thinking.
Yeah.
But I thought, my God, it's. I hope he gets back to that point and starts putting some of his heft behind those films. The other one that I watched for the first time is another 80s film, and I don't know if you've seen it.
Go on.
Paris, Texas.
How they have two fathers? Just lucky, I guess.
I could never heal up what happened. I can't even hardly remember what happened. It's like a gap.
Have you seen Jane or talked to her? We thought you were dead, boy.
How long have I been gone, do you know?
4 years.
Is 4 years a long time?
It is for a little boy.
There will be no safety zone. I can guarantee you the safety zone will be eliminated.
What's out there?
I gotta go away now.
Why?
Because I'm gonna find her.
How's it going?
I want to find her too.
I knew these people. They were in love with each other.
She's leaving the band.
He was kind of raggedy and wild. She was very beautiful, you know? And he loved her more than he ever felt possible.
Paris, Texas.
Yes, it's on my list. Please tell me what. But it's been a couple of years since I've watched Paris, Texas. But tell me, what did you think of Paris, Texas?
I thought it was beautiful looking, and I can see now why so many cinematographers and DPs will put stills from Paris, Texas on their decks. It's always used as a reference point. It's not so much of a road movie, though. There's only sporadic moments where they're on the road. The character of Harry Dean Stanton and the little boy, for instance. But other than that, it is Harry Dean Stanton's character who has been missing for several years, and he's popped back on wandering through the desert. He collapses. He gets put in touch with Dean Stockwell, who's his brother, his estranged brother. And his brother has been taking care of his little boy, who calls him dad, but he's obviously his uncle. And Harry Dean Stanton, he seems to have shut down emotionally and mentally. He's a little bit like Rain Man or like Forrest Gump. He's not all there, and Dean Stockwell can't get any fucking truth out of him or any facts out of him. And the story sort of just blossoms from that. He comes back to Dean Stockwell's family home and he reconnects with his son, and that sends him on a quest to find the boy's missing mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a slice of life film. Wim Wenders, really beautiful, really slowly paced. But what I loved about all these films I'm going to talk about from here on in is that they were just slice of life films. It was just very observational. There weren't really any bad guys. It was stories that are very introspective while showing you what an incredible world we live in. and the characters navigating their own internal struggle while on an outward quest.
Yeah, that's the core. I think that's the core of what makes a good road trip movie. It really is a voyage, in an internal voyage as much as it is a physical external voyage. I really like the mood and tone of the film. I didn't revisit it for this particular rewatch because I just didn't have a chance. So my memory of it was a bit hazy, but I always just remember the vibe of that film was there was a lonesomeness in that film. There's just this lonesomeness.
The final 20 minutes are like it's an exchange between Harry Dean Stanton and Natasha Kinski where they're on either side of a two-way mirror, and it's beautiful, and she gives an incredible performance. Really like blew me away, and it's riveting, and it's just two people talking to each other, or it's holding on her face as she's listening, as she doesn't know who's on the other side of the mirror, and he's telling her a story about a couple that met, had a wild romance, and things went south, and she's putting the pieces together and realizing that maybe the person on the other side knows her because this is all tracking with life, and it's beautiful. It really is.
Excuse me, sir, but were you to visit me the other day? I don't mean to pry.
No.
Oh. I thought I recognized your voice for a minute.
No. Wasn't me.
Mm-hmm. Please go on.
Anyway, he started to drink real bad, and he'd stay out late to test her.
What do you mean, tester?
To see if she'd get jealous.
Mm.
He wanted her to get jealous, but she didn't. She just worried about him, but that got him even madder.
Why?
Very personal experiences happening, and we're right in the room with them, and you're deeply invested and hanging off of every little inflection and every little sideways glance and curl of a lip or like a tear welling up. It's beautiful. So I thought it was a great film.
I regret not taking the time or finding the time to be able to rewatch it because I was trying to, like you, watch the films that I hadn't seen before, but it was definitely on my list of ones that I wished I had rewatched, and I definitely will. I'll definitely rewatch it. But there was something there that reminded me of one that is on my list. It was a huge hit at the time. It launched so many careers. It's a big crowd pleaser of a road movie, and it's Little Miss Sunshine.
Oh yeah, I forgot all about that.
Olive, dinner in 10 minutes. Dwayne, can you check on Frank? Tell him it's dinner time.
Why, you don't talk anymore? You can talk, you just choose not to. Is that Nietzsche? You don't speak because of Friedrich Nietzsche. Far out.
What's that, chicken? Every night is chicken. Holy God almighty. Is it possible just once we could get something to eat for dinner around here that's not the damn chicken?
Hey, Dad.
I'm just saying.
Dad!
How did it happen?
How did what happen?
Your accident.
Uncle Frank didn't really have an accident. Tried to kill himself.
Why?
I wanted to kill myself
Don't listen to him.
because I was very unhappy.
He's a sick man. He's a sick in his head man.
Richard!
I don't think it's an appropriate conversation for a 7-year-old.
Well, she's gonna find out anyway.
Okay.
Why were you unhappy?
I fell in love with someone.
Yeah, Little Miss Sunshine. I remember watching that one in a packed cinema and just absolutely wrapping the audience around its finger as a film. How everyone was just laughing in all the right places, feeling the sadness when one character passes away, and
the little girl,
the joy of the little girl when she makes her final performance and that very, very inappropriate and suggestive and hilarious show that she puts on, which was all orchestrated by the granddad. it's kind of a beautiful encapsulation of the love that's shared between the family, but also this takes the idea of a dysfunctional family, but puts all of the family in the van between the granddad right down to the granddaughter and the uncles and the sons and all that sort of stuff. Performances are great.
Oh, no one gets left behind. No one gets left behind.
The only place where that film kind of lost me was when they're trying to get the corpse out of the morgue. And I thought
it's a little bit capery. It's a bit forced and capery that moment.
It changes tones for a little bit.
Yeah.
Whereas everything else felt like it was a Sundance indie comedy, and I was completely on board with it. And still have that character, not make it or whatever, or die on the journey. But it just felt like that whole, let's push the body out through the window and stuff it in the back and keep going. I thought
you didn't need it.
No, I didn't need it at all. Just leave him behind. Just cut that whole sequence.
Yeah. But you say, well, I suppose they had to honor one of the greatest road trip movies of all time, which is National Lampoon's Vacation, by making a point of carrying the body with them.
I didn't go back and revisit any of those films because I'd seen them and there were so many that I needed to watch. But did you?
I did.
What do you think of those films?
Oh, which one? National Lampoon's Vacation?
Yeah, or European Vacation.
I didn't have to because I've seen National Lampoon's Vacation so many fucking times. It's a part of my upbringing.
I've only seen it once.
See the real America.
Hey, underpants. Hey, yellow.
It's friendly.
Okay, I'm okay.
Don't you want to look at the Grand Canyon?
It's educational.
Great.
And most of all, it's fun.
The dog went on the picnic basket.
Like Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo.
It's great. And I brought it up on Best Car Scene. The first Vacation film and Christmas Vacation.
See, I love Christmas Vacation. That's one of my favorite Christmas films.
The first one holds up, right? It really does. First of all, Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo, they have great chemistry. They have not chemistry in the sense of
familiarity.
They're familiar. They feel like a couple that's been married for 20 years, and in that part of their relationship where they're just exhausted and they're used to each other, but also the kids, and they recast the kids for each film and
swap their ages and things, don't they? Or are they always?
Yeah. No, they always change. The kids get older and younger, and it's always just a change of cast. But I think the kids in that one have this level of cynicism, and I would say they're mature. They're more mature than the parents kind of probably kidified them a little bit, but the kids are in the backseat kind of like rolling joints and, listen to, heavy metal music and stuff like that. And the kids are all, okay, let's sing road trip songs, that sort of thing. So there's this kind of funny juxtaposition of like where the difference between where the parents at and the kids at throughout that film. It fucking holds up. The trip to Uncle, even though he's cancelled now, Randy Quaid's character's homestead, where they go to the farm, and how you realize that this farm is a shit show, and it's like they want to get out of there as quick as possible. And when they have to leave, they go with the old aunt and her dog. There's a funny moment. There's a really hilarious moment where obviously everything is falling apart. The dog's a disaster, is eating all the food in the boot. And there's a moment where Chevy Chase, they've been chased down a highway or whatever it is and jumped out, ramped off into a dirt road. And there's a moment where they ask, where's the dog? And they look at the back and there's just this lead. This dog must have been a monster. But it's this constant
escalation,
piling on, escalation of bad things happening, and all Chevy Chase wants to do is have, like in Christmas Vacation, is have a perfect family holiday, but everything conspires against it.
Well, officer, whatever it is I've done, I'm sure I can explain. Explain this, you son of a bitch. Oh, my God.
Poor little guy. Probably kept up with you for a mile or so. Tough little mutt. Yeah.
See, that's where all the comedy comes from. But you mentioned Randy Quaid there, and I watched another film for the first time that stars him. And I said earlier on that Jack Nicholson has been in a fair few road movies, and one of them he was in with Randy Quaid and with Otis Young, who I didn't see him much. He didn't really do much after this film, which was The Last Detail from 1971.
Yeah.
What the hell did he do? Kill the old man?
Robbery.
How much did he lift?
$40. Tried to lift the polio contribution box.
Yeah?
Polio box is the old man's old lady's favorite do-gooder project. She took it very seriously.
Where are we going, Chief?
Portsmouth Naval Prison. Good duty for you guys.
They're gonna get him there, all right. But first, they gotta take care of a few details along the way.
Okay, Badufki. You're the honcho.
So, coming 2 years after Easy Rider and a year after 5 Easy Pieces, another Jack Nicholson road movie, I thought The Last Detail was terrific. Hal Ashby film. Basically, Otis Young and Jack Nicholson are chasers, which is guys who have to escort one of the other officers in it's the Navy, isn't it? They're in the Navy.
I think it's the Navy, yeah. It's the Navy, yeah.
They haven't been deployed yet, but Randy Quaid has screwed up. He has run afoul through a situation with his girlfriend, and he's being escorted where he's going to be imprisoned for 6 years. Or 8 years, but they think they can get him for 6 years. And they've got 5 days to get him across country. 2 guys who are burnt out and miserable and cynical, and this young, naive guy who's screwed up his life before it's even got going. And they're trying to make him wise to the world and kind of like look out for him a little bit, show him things, like take him to a dive bar, get him drunk, take him to a brothel, get him laid. And it's very similar in terms of tone to The Holdovers.
The Holdovers.
Yeah, it has that same vibe. You could feel it just fitting right in alongside those if it was made at the same time. And it's one of the rare road movies which doesn't end in death, but it does end in, I guess, a poignant moment where, if I can spoil it for you, after Randy Quaid has tried to make a break for it and tried to flee, they decide not to tell on him, not to say that he's done that. They cover for him because it would obviously extend his prison sentence. And it's just a tiny little glimmer of kindness in a very cynical, cold 70s world. But I thought it was lovely. Hal Ashby, if you know Hal Ashby movies, this just fits right in line with them. And it was a treat.
Would like to drink a toast to Batman, Superman, and the Human Torch.
That's great. I remember watching it years ago. It was on TV. You recorded it.
First time watching it for me.
Oh, wow. Oh, I love the fact that you're discovering a whole genre of really good films.
All of these ones I got to mention, I've seen for the first time.
Wow. I wanted to bring up a Rob Reiner one from the 80s, which I always enjoyed, even though I haven't watched it a huge amount of times. But the Sure Thing with John Cusack.
I've never seen it.
Gibson!
What?
Don't you have an 8 o'clock?
What time is it?
9 to 8.
Walter Gibb Gibson lives life on the edge.
What do you think of that guy, Gibb? I don't.
Forget it, Gibson. I hear she likes the intellectual type.
So I'm intellectual and stuff.
You're flunking English. That's your mother tongue and stuff.
Allison Bradbury favors a more orderly existence.
7 o'clock news, 7:30 shower, 7:45 phone call. 8 o'clock?
8 o'clock, I don't know. That's when I rearrange my sock drawer.
They have very little in common.
How would you like to have a sexual encounter so intense it could conceivably change your political views?
Except that each has someone waiting in California.
Gib, I'm talking to you cordless. What are you doing for Christmas break, huh?
There's a certain someone here I want you to meet.
For Gibb, the girl of his dreams, a guaranteed sure thing.
You want it. I want it. You know I want it.
For Allison, her boyfriend, a respectable, safe thing.
How about a good hot mug of China Black?
And from a small New England college,
Both are willing to travel across the country by car.
No, I should have taken the bus.
What, and wind up sitting next to some sleazebag? Some sleazebag you don't know?
By foot. By truck.
So what's in California? Girl, it's supposed to be a sure thing. A sure thing, no questions asked, no strings attached.
No guilt involved.
A sure thing.
Kind of like just basically two opposites forced to go on a journey together because she's got to get to her boyfriend. She's the Miss Prim and Proper, and he's like, I don't care about school. I just want to go and get dates and whatnot.
Why do they do that? Why do they always put opposites together? You should put,
yeah, because
put
when people the same attitudes, similar people, and everything's nice and cozy.
Opposites. They're driven mad.
And they get there, everything happens on time, and there's no hijinks, and there's no, you know, and they actually have a nice naps, you know.
Driving Miss Daisy, just up in, sit down.
I'm recommending The Sure Thing. I think The Sure Thing is a really good road trip movie. It's got that. If you like 80s movies and you like John Cusack.
Do I?
If you like Rob Reiner.
Do I?
It's one of those films I highly recommend. It's a romantic comedy road trip. That's kind of what I would describe it as.
Allison and Gibb just might discover the real thing.
Thank you.
Embassy Pictures presents a new film by Rob Reiner, The Sure Thing.
My whole life I never had a sure thing.
I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, Jesus Christ.
No. So look, my pick is going to come from the 70s, and I'm going to tell you all the other ones from the 70s that didn't tip it over the edge.
Okay.
Vanishing Point. Vanishing Point, I watched for the first
good.
time. I had an impression of the film that was entirely wrong to what it is. I know that it heavily inspired Quentin Tarantino with Death Proof. It's one of Steven Spielberg's favorite films. It inspired him when he was doing Jewel. Jewel is a film that, you know, we both love. We've talked about it on TV movies and things like that. Came up in car scenes as well. Fantastic film. But Vanishing Point, there are certain kind of films where you're aware of them. They've passed you by. Well, for me, I've never found a reason to commit the time to them. I'm always like watching something else that's coming up or whatever. And so I watch these films without any impression of what they're going to really be like. So I don't know where the story's going to go. So it's like watching a film, like a new film, because it's not been spoiled for me. And the ending to it shocked me in Vanishing Point. I did not expect that. And I'm not going to spoil it for anyone else. But that really just set it over the edge where suddenly the whole film became allegorical. It's like, what is this about? Obviously, the main character, Kowalski, he's an ex-policeman. He's an ex-race car driver. He's a vet. He's back from Vietnam. He is tasked with transporting a car. I believe it's from San Francisco to Vegas or something like that. He's racing through Nevada, Arizona, that sort of place. One of the 3 states that I've been to. And he is on speed. So he doses himself up and he is just fucking flooring it across the country. And obviously he's getting picked up by the authorities. They're trying to chase him down and he just keeps evading capture. And while he's like racing across, you've got Cleavon Little, who was from Blazing Saddles. He was like Gene Wilder's sidekick. He was the sheriff that he put in charge. He is talking to him over the radio, and it's pretty much that. It's pretty much a guy who seems to be in the throes of a breakdown, although he's a very taciturn, strong, silent type character. He's having flashbacks to experiences in his past that bother him, like an attempted rape by one of his partners when he was in the police, that sort of thing. And he's heading towards certain capture or death. And death is something which happens an awful lot in these road movies. People just get fucking killed. They don't make it. And so I did not know where this story was going to end up. And it surprised me. The last scene, I was like, whoa. But I loved it. I thought it was great. It was nothing at all what I expected. And I'm recommending it.
Vanishing Point.
You can see why it's one of those films that inspired a lot of filmmakers. You can see why it inspired Tarantino.
The cars in the 70s, all those muscle cars, was like, fuck me, I want that car.
It's like, The Driver, that movie, was that Ryan O'Neal, that Driver?
Great film.
You can Bullet, these muscle car movies, you see how people just want to capture that grittiness, that sense of energy, and it all being captured in film and whatnot. Yeah, it's a really good film. Again, one of those ones that I had watched maybe 10 years ago.
You watched it 12 years ago.
I would go back.
It's on your Letterboxd that you reviewed it 12
years ago.
Is it
12 years ago?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really, actually, hey, it wasn't far off. That's really good. I want to bring up one that I watched for the first time for this because it's at the top of an awful lot of people's lists. And I thought it was a great film, but it's not at the top of my list. And it is the Alfonso Cuarón's film from 2001 that really launched his career. It's Y Tu Mama Tambien, that Mexican film.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe you haven't seen it, have you?
I saw it way back when, 20 years ago, in snippets, and didn't see.
Okay.
I saw all the sex scenes.
I was good. You saw the sex, and there are a lot of clumsy, like frenetic, kind of like, oh, that's not a very sexy scene. But it's a road movie where we have two teenage boys. What's the name of those guys?
Diego Luna and Gael Garcia Bernal.
There you go. So what happens is they go on this spontaneous road trip with this woman, Luisa, who's older than them, and her husband has announced via a phone message that he slept with another woman. So she spontaneously says, hey, lads, let's go on that road trip. Even though it's mostly handheld, it's beautifully composed. Even it's still gorgeous to look at. It's beautifully shot. Performances are amazing. Mostly what I like about it is the two friends, Diego Luna and Gael Garcia Bernal. They feel like proper friends. You get a vibe of this kind of these teenagers who are still children, right? They're still children. But as we embark on that journey through Luisa, she starts off very kind of like standoffish and stand back and lets them take lead. But as she probes into them a little bit more, they're kind of faced with a lot of awkward truths, and there's maturation that needs to go on, and it's not all happy. It can be quite awkward and quite uncomfortable, and pushes them right to the brink, and their friendship feels like it's going to come apart, to be ripped apart, only to come back together again.
Happens a lot. Whenever there's three characters, the third character will come between the two. We started off quite close, and then there'll be a fissure or a fracturing of that relationship, and they either come to terms with it at the end, but they have to acknowledge that they're never going to have the same friendship that they had prior to that.
Yeah.
So it becomes more like a truce or an agreement to let's just not deal with that or go their separate ways entirely. But they're changed on the journey.
There's a narrative device they use throughout it where we have a narrator come in, the sound kind of drops and it makes you feel like, oh God, what's happened to the volume? And he basically, the narrator comments on something, a third party, and says, well, 2 weeks ago there was a car crash here and somebody's brains were splattered all over the road and whatnot. And it might feel a little bit affected, but in this film, it actually, I think it really works because it helps to broaden the sense of the space of this world that they're navigating through in their own little kind of like, with their own little perspective, and kind of go, hang on a second, there's all this other shit that's going on that's a bit wider than your narrow perspective on the world, where you're just these two lads just concerned about trying to get the ride off Luisa.
See, perspective, I think, is the key element to these stories. It's about the perspective of the characters changing while they're on this trip.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about that a little bit more when it comes to my pick. But will I tell you the final two films which I watched that I loved, but they're not one that I'm going to select as my pick.
Okay.
Two Lane Blacktop, which is a film that Quentin Tarantino has often talked about and he loves.
I've never even heard of this. What does it say again?
Two Lane Blacktop. It's from 1971. Whoa. It's a film from Monty Hellman. It stars James Taylor, the singer. It also stars Dennis Wilson from the Beach Boys. the youngest brother of the Beach Boys. Warren Oates is in there. Laurie Bird, who was a very tragic character. She died quite young. She committed suicide at 25, just like her mother, who committed suicide at 25. She was institutionalized as a child by her dad. She was with Art Garfunkel for years, and he was so brokenhearted about it. He just wrote so many songs, but she was Bird. He said that she was never comfortable being Laurie, who she was.
Yeah.
And she took her own life. But it's about those three characters and Warren Oates.
They've been following me clear across 2 states. 3 states.
So it's a very simple story. It's another slice of life film. So coming 1971. So think about this now. 69 you had Easy Rider, 1975 Easy Pieces, then you had The Last Detail, Two Lane Blacktop 71, Vanishing Point 72, Badlands 73, Paper Moon 73, all these sort of road movies happening at the same time. But this one is a driver and a mechanic travel across the United States, hopping from drag strip to drag strip in a 55 Chevy Bel Air coupe. The thing as well, I loved all these old cars. They're so gorgeous looking. We've lost so much. They race for money, betting their competitors, and the pair gains a young and talkative female stowaway, that's Laurie Bird. Along the way, they unintentionally attract a well-to-do drifter, played by Warren Oates, driving a new Pontiac. And this older man looking for attention antagonizes them. So they're basically racing each other and crossing paths with each other as they're going across country to get to a drag show where they're going to bet and hopefully win. It's a very quiet film. You've got her as a very talkative teenage character, and the two guys who are much more taciturn. There's a lovely moment where they pull into a garage, and the attendant comes out and he's like filling it up, and he's asking like, "What's the engine on this? And how fast does it go?" And suddenly more guys start to come around, and the owner, the mechanic, and they're all like looking under the hood and looking at them, and it's sort of they're saying an awful lot with just one or two words, and it's the insight into an America which is long, long gone. This sort of very quiet America, these open roads. And they pick up characters along the way. There's an old lady who gets picked up by Warren Oates after he has had these different interactions with these guys which have put him at odds with what he thought was going on in life. And this woman, she's getting in the back and she's hitchhiking, elderly woman, and she wants to be taken to a graveyard. She's going to the graveyard because the girl in the back, her parents were killed last week, and he's like, I'm sorry to hear that, and he's going to visit his mother after this. She's a city car killed them, like the city car that she's in. And these scenes that don't feel like they add anything to a plot, because there is no plot. There's a tragedy, there's a hopelessness, there's an incredible sadness to this, and it's a very strained and tortured conversation. And the two guys eventually get to the drag show. They take their race, and then the film strip blows out. It burns out as he's on the race, and it's like almost this wasting of youth, burning up of this generation. But yeah, a hard one to recommend to people. It's just you want to drop in, sit down, take on this, or be taken on this ride with these guys, and almost like the Last Picture Show. It's that kind of vibe. It's just it's quite morose and contemplative, but beautiful.
I want to find that film. I love it when I hear the title of a film I've never even heard of before. So that's absolutely amazing. While you were chatting about that, you were saying how, the late 1960s and the early 70s really saw the rise of the road trip genre. And of course, then I just went,
getting away from it all, the counterculturalism of it.
That's definitely one element, the counterculture. But also it was another aspect of is the end of the studio system, where up to that point, most of Hollywood movies were made on lots in the back lot of these big studios. And all of a sudden now it was the rise of the independent filmmakers and going out on the road and shooting on location. And it's just that idea of
but these also feel like wagon trail stories. They feel like the next version of the Western.
Yeah, they feel like they're that's absolutely so true. Like taking elements of the Western genres and but seeing it through the lens of contemporary Americana in its changing landscape. I think that's huge part of it. But also it reflects that kind of feeling, maybe the feeling at the time of just feeling kind of lost, and how America probably felt a bit lost at the time.
Also, it reiterated for me something which I guess we all know, but that the culture that we think we have right now is not that far removed from the way it was. So, look, it's a terrible time for world politics, and things are sort of continually feeling like they're getting worse and worse. But in the 60s, you had all of these assassinations. You had people just being fucking killed if they were progressive and left-wing politicians. You had Vietnam raging. You had this toxic relationship towards hippies. And it feels like being called woke today, or the woke, is the same as being called a hippie. And continually in all these films, characters are pulled into diners, and some two-bit like redneck racist will say, "You a hippie?" And they have to deny it. No, I'm not a hippie.
Yeah.
And it feels like if they proudly say, "Yeah, I'm a hippie," there'll be a fucking brawl or a punch-up. And look, that's not far from where we are today.
Dude, like when we were traveling through Oklahoma that last time, Oklahoma is a deeply red state, and I found all of my interactions with the local people to be amazing. I thought they were wonderful folk. But when we were doing our road trip, I was traveling with a trans person, and when we pulled into a truck stop, myself and the trans person immediately kind of felt, we were kind of going, "Do you feel anxious here or nervous here?" Because like there was these bikers there, and we realised
because you were a foreigner.
Was looking at. Yeah, I was the foreigner, but the trans person was looking as trans as you could possibly look, going into this environment where you feel like, oh, hang on a second, maybe someone might take serious offense at the way you're looking. So kind of mirroring what you were saying right there of, it feels like the culture is there in certain parts of America again, which mightn't have been the case.
It just feels like everyone is constantly in this state of anxiety, feeling like the traditions and the things that they hold dear are being taken away from them, and that will never change. Everyone will always feel that, but it kind of just sort of put me at ease, really, that this is just the way it's always been, and it always will be, and we'll just continue to grapple with it and deal with it, and the tug of war will go on. But what's the difference between being a hippie? You a hippie? Or being woke? You woke? But progress is being made all the time, so it's just the death rattles of those people that desperately just want to hold on to
cling
power.
on to the past. Yeah.
Badlands I watched as well. Very contemplative crime film. Not very much a road movie. It's sort of more of a pit stop movie, as they stop off here and there and kill people and continue on their crime spree while being wistful young lovers. Very pleasant young lovers.
It's.
You mind if I just kill you now? Yeah.
And a great soundtrack.
Yeah, it's True Romance soundtrack.
Yeah. Well, True Romance soundtrack came first, didn't it?
It did, yeah. For me, anyway. Because it's my first time watching it. I was sitting there going like, they've ripped off True Romance. What the fuck? And that's it for me. My pick is the next pick I'm going to talk about.
Okay, my pick, I'll give you my pick now. But we already know what my pick is, and it was
Here's
for me when I was trying to narrow these.
Because I don't know what I'll leave in, what I won't leave in.
All right. Well, maybe if you have a cutout, it's okay. So my pick is a film that has been mentioned in the past, but it was a toss-up between Rain Man and this Die Hard and Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is my road movie. No, it was a toss-up.
That is a
road
movie, and I do think that we should probably say that quest movies and road movies are very similar.
It's very similar. It was a toss-up between Rain Man and this, and I ultimately, because we've spoken about so many of the other films that we've mentioned before, this is one that I kind of went, you know what, I'll put this into the pantheon because I absolutely adore this film, and it's David Lynch's The Straight Story, which I just think is a beautiful, beautiful little story. It doesn't quite follow the conventions of, like, at the chamber piece of a family being stuck together, forced into a cabin, because this is the true story of Alvin Straight, a 73-year-old retired veteran who embarks on a 200-mile journey across a state to visit his on a battered old lawnmower, basically, to visit his brother, who he's heard has suffered a terrible stroke, to basically make amends with his brother, who he's been estranged from for decades. And it's just gorgeous, to use the word you've already used, contemplative journey through America, and a kind of a warm a warm version of America.
It's the last trip he's ever going to take.
It feels like that. Yeah, it's his last journey.
This morning you fall and you can't get off the floor. That's your hips, Alvin. And you're going to have to use a walker now to get around.
No walker. I love a lightning storm.
Me too, Dad. Uncle Al, I had a stroke.
Rose, darling, I'm gonna go back on the road. And I've got to make this trip on my own. I've got to go see Lyle. I'm having a little engine trouble.
You know, I'd be happy to drive you the rest of the way to Mount Zion.
I still want to finish this the way I started. And this trip is a hard swallow for my pride. I just hope I'm not too late. You've got two brothers that haven't spoken in 10 years. I want to make peace. I want to sit with him, look up at the stars, like we used to do so long ago. A brother's a brother.
He imparts wisdom along the way. He encounters various folk, and there's a girl who's run away from home. There's bickering twin brother mechanics. There's a beautiful encounter he has with a man who offers to take him in, and his wife who offers to take him in for a night, and he says, "No, thank you very much. I'll just stay in the barn if you don't mind."
It feels like a dream, that movie. It feels very much dreamlike and wistful, and it's just a very gentle journey he goes on, and then it ends in that way where it's everything that was left unsaid continues to be left unsaid, but it's they're together again.
It's the fact that he made the journey. It's the fact that he embarked on that trip, and actually the fact that he even shows up on his brother's doorstep, on his porch, means all the world, and that's all that needs to be said. Nothing needs to be said, and they end up looking up at the stars, himself and Harry Dean Stanton. I tear up every time we come to that scene. I think it's utterly gorgeous because it's you again. Borrowing from you, you said it before. It's what's more emotional, what elicits more tears, is when people are trying to hold back their emotions, and it feels like it's that moment where they can't find the words and they're just swallowing down the tears. But it's if they could embrace each other, they would, but they can't. It's utterly beautiful.
They're also probably in that moment looking at each other going like, fuck, he got old.
You're on
Fucking hell.
I love it. I think and also what adds to the poignancy of that film is the fact that Richard Farnsworth, the guy who was a man who was a stuntman for decades and decades in the Hollywood system, he was terminally ill with bone cancer. He was in a lot of pain while shooting that. Yeah. He was terminally ill with bone cancer. He was between scenes.
Bone cancer is awful as well. Yeah. That's such a painful one to have.
He was in a wheelchair for much of it, and it was his final role, which adds to kind of the poignancy of it. So he knew it was his last role, much like the character kind of knew it was his last journey. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful film, and there's a lens that David. It's unusual because David, I suppose there's still a weirdness in the film. There's still a weirdness, and there's loads of humor. It just has this really meditative pace. It's so chill. It's so
like I say,
chill.
It's dreamlike.
Yeah.
And if anyone is able to capture that sense of dreaming, it's David Lynch.
Yeah. It's a very peaceful, pleasant dream. I highly recommend it. I love that film, and that is my pick, Kevin. What about you?
So there are some other ones that are more recent that have come out that I just want to bring up because it's good to highlight that these films are not only still getting made, unlike an awful lot of the topics that we do talk about, where it's like, oh, they don't make these films anymore. They don't make buddy comedies anymore. They don't make, original whatever. But they do still make road movies, and some of them even go on to win Oscars, like Green Book or Nomadland, two very recent ones. Will and Harper, we just watched recently, a great documentary where Will Ferrell and his old writing partner from Saturday Night Live, who's transitioned, they go on a road trip across America. And for me, look, what I did love about watching these films was that you're getting to see America and the world in ways that you don't really see anymore. These days, an awful lot of films, if they have the budget, they're shot on these fucking backlots in Atlanta. And it all feels very artificial, and you can just tell it's not real America. And every actor is a face. Every actor is somebody who could lead up their own TV show, versus these films where you can see the journey that a life has taken by the face. And now it's all Botox. It's all veneers.
Yeah.
It's all fucking wigs and tailored clothing. And I miss that. But every so often, you'll get these films that will allow you insight into the world. These little empathy machines that take you to places where you're never going to get to visit yourself. Heartlands was another one. Poster Boys, which I've mentioned before, Dave Minogue's film, a road trip movie around Ireland, which I thought was lovely. But to get onto my pick is a film that I've avoided for the entirety of this man's career. I never thought that it would really do much for me. I thought that it was, you're smiling away because you know what it is.
I know exactly what it is, yes.
Yeah. It's a film that I thought it was going to be one thing and it was entirely something else. It was his first film. It was a 70s film. It was incredible, and it's the Sugarland Express.
Ah, yes!
Welfare's coming taking baby Langston forever. They're gonna keep him in that foster home. I want my baby back. Now, you gonna help me or not?
Well, where's he now?
Over in Sugarland.
I only got 4 more months.
You're leaving today.
No!
This true but incredible event happened in Texas in 1969.
So far, it's grand theft auto, speeding, driving to endanger, resisting arrest, threatening an officer, illegal possession of firearms, and assault. But if I get in that car, you got kidnapping. That's federal. Now, you may kill me, but if you don't come to your senses and throw it down, they're gonna kill you. I love you. Even if we don't get the baby.
Missed all that sweet talk.
Hold it! Now, I just might see what happens if I shoot a load of buckshot in that commode.
They sure are messing all over us, I know that. You got any better ideas?
Honey, look at all these money.
Come on, quit that.
Here's my wallet with money. God bless you. Don't let no one take him away from you.
What about the girl?
She'll be dead before the sound gets there.
This is a film that I watched for one of our buffer shows, like either a second-rate show.
Second-rate show, yeah, we were going to do that.
And I raved about it. I raved about it on the second-rate show. I said it's like finding this kind of lost Spielberg treasure.
Down! Get yourself down!
Clean.
That's what it feels like.
100%. So a lot of things jumped out to me watching this film. One was that Spielberg never really had a period where he was finding his footing. He arrived fully formed. He's the Spielberg in that film as he is in all of his others. There's moments in that where you can see Close Encounters, you can see Jaws, you can see even 1941, which is more like his knockabout comedies. But It's a beautiful film. It is so much more epic than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
It's massive in scope.
Great performances, up and down.
Incredible performances. Goldie Hawn was amazing. William Atherton, fantastic. It's a film all about perspectives. It focuses on 3 perspectives in the story. It's about the police who are pursuing these criminals.
Yeah.
It's about Goldie Hawn, her husband, and the guy that they take hostage, who they carjack, the police officer, their perspective. And it's about the world at large, where they end up viewing these people as like a new Bonnie and Clyde, these outlaws that are folk heroes.
Yeah.
So those 3 perspectives is cutting between them throughout the story. And it's a film with no bad guys. There are no antagonists in it.
Mm-hmm.
As Spielberg described it, it's an errand of mercy. And basically the story follows Goldie Hawn's character, who has just gotten out of prison, and she meets up with William Atherton, who's her partner, that she's had a kid with. The kid has been taken off of her. She can't get the kid back, and she goes to William Atherton while he's got 6 months left on his sentence. And he's in minimum security. You know, they're petty thieves. And she is adamant that they need to go and get their son and just leave because the system doesn't work. And she convinces him to do it. She's adorable in it.
Isn't she?
Fantastic. The sweetness of the story really affected me because where it went to and how it ended up broke my fucking heart.
Yeah.
And there's a kindness throughout it. Like, as I said, there's no bad guys. The police in it, Ben Johnson from The Last Picture Show, he's in there. And he's the sheriff who's never killed anybody, and he's not going to start now in his watch.
Yeah.
And as there are snipers that want to take shots and stuff.
Everyone, is trying to do the right thing.
They just want their baby back. They want their child back, and their child's been taken away from them. You're on their side throughout the whole story. But they end up getting run off the road by a police officer. They steal the gun, and they end up cuffing him and taking his car. And he's like their sat-nav.
Yeah.
But the lovely thing is that he ends up becoming like a part of the gang.
Absolutely.
And it's so fucking sweet, but I was just completely blown away by how beautiful the film looked and how epic the film looked. It's based on a true story, so Spielberg saw an article in a Texas newspaper, which he took liberties with. It's one of those films that I had it completely wrong in my head. I thought it was going to be a very indie film where Spielberg was trying to find his footing. He hadn't really become the Spielberg that we all know and love. That's so wrong. He's a master at making films, and this is such a masterful film.
We even see the oneers, these iconic oneer shots.
From like the opening shot, the oneers are right in there from the very first shot.
There are simple shots in this film, which should be just very, very basic expository conversations, dialogue between the sheriff and, his number 2 as they're walking along a line of cars. And in the back, it's all framed, blocked so beautifully. But like this is a moment where they're driving a Portaloo across a hilltop. It all is timed and synced up so fucking well that it feels utterly effortless. And it's all one single shot. And it ends perfectly, and you go, holy shit, you're like 20, what are you, fucking like
25
or 25 when he's doing this, and it's like that's amazing.
It's a year before Jaws, and he'd made Jewel and he'd made Columbo episodes and Night Gallery. He'd done like 5 hours of TV, but I looked at it and I thought, like, fucking hell, this is a massive cast. There are hundreds of people in this film.
Yeah,
there are hundreds of police cars chasing them. He's shooting all over, like outside in locations where it's all shot in Texas. All natural lighting. They had no lights. They were using the Panavision camera that was quite light. So they were using natural lighting. It's so beautiful. The blocking, the compositions. But there's 2 things that made me like zero in and go like, well, I have to talk about this. One is that I feel like a fucking fool for having waited all this time to watch what I think is one of his best films now. A film that I absolutely loved. The other one was that no one else I know has seen the film. Everybody has skipped it. So I'm like saying, I just watched this, I thought it was amazing. And they're all like, it's one I've never gotten around to. I'm going to have to give it a watch. Yeah. Everyone skipped it like I did. So my big plea to you out there is, if you've not watched Sugarland Express for whatever reason, you need to rectify that, because it's a great film. It flopped on release. Spielberg said it played for 2 weeks and it was gone. He thinks that Goldie Hawn, who was known as a comedic actress, this was her first real big dramatic role. She'd won the Oscar, supporting actress Oscar for Cactus Flower, I think it was. But this was her first real dramatic lead role. And he thinks that people went in expecting a comedy and didn't get that. They got a very heartfelt, kind of a chase movie where she just wants to save her child. William Atherton was amazing in it. Very tragic character. But the ending, I thought, was heart-wrenching and beautiful. Like, really...
It's a gut punch.
Ripped the heart out of me. The kid is in foster care. The world knows they're on a path to intercept and get their child back. And Ben Johnson, the sheriff, for whatever reason, maybe the kindness out of his heart, he doesn't want to destroy these people's lives. And it all goes south. And I just thought it was beautiful. And a fantastic film.
You can't keep it together. You're losing it.
No, do you know what it is? It's like, it's the intensity and it's the intention. Like, it's the intention of everybody to do something pure that really moves me, because the world is so fucking cynical and it's so easy to be sardonic and sarcastic and cynical. It's cool to do that, but to do the opposite, to be sincere, takes guts, and it always moves me when people do that. And this is not a sentimental film. It's not schmaltzy. It's not like, it's very restrained. It's very, very 70s, but it's a stellar film, and it's one of Spielberg's best. And I feel like if any of you out there will like me thinking, I'll give it a miss. I've seen the clips. I know what it's like. You're wrong. It's fantastic. And the ending, the final scene where they pull up outside the house is my pick.
Yeah, I know the scene you're talking about. When I watched this 18 months ago, I just was blown away by it. And it's the first collaboration between himself and John Williams as well. And there are moments in the film, shots where you go, oh, that's E.T. Oh, that's the chasing raiders. Oh my God, there's a whip, a shot that's
Hook.
A shot that's in the car where there's a shotgun being pointed out and they whip the camera around. I'm going, oh my God, the blocking of this shot inside in a car, tracking another car that's outside the car is astounding, beautifully composed. It's.
I was taking screen grabs while I was watching. I was like, Jesus, look at that. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. No, that's beautiful. But it was a flop. He was shooting or prepping Jaws when he got the word that the film had basically tanked, and it's not really had much of an airing since. So
you have to find it.
It's its 50th anniversary. It had to be my pick.
Fucking hell!
Yeah.
It's done.
And Spielberg was a genius. He never really had to figure things out. He just knew it intuitively, and I loved it. And John Williams' music in it. There are moments towards the end where it starts to fall into what you might think of a John Williams score. The main overture is more orchestral. But for the majority of it, it is scored by a harmonica. And beautiful film. I fucking loved it. And I love when the podcast forces me to watch films that I've been putting off, and then I discover ones that I adore.
That's been the gift of this podcast. It's just that homework always unlocks a door where you go.
Plus all the money.
I'm so glad I've stepped through that. I'm so glad I finally took the leap and pulled the finger out and watched X, Y, and Z. And that's a great film. I think we have road trips covered. What do we do next?
I put it to the patrons. I said to them, will you pick our next topic for us? And they said, sure, just give us some options. So I spun the wheel 5 times. Randomly, I screen recorded, spinning the wheel. I posted it on our Patreon, and I said, look, here are the 5 topics which came up. Pick a theme for us. The themes were best bit part scene, best POV, point of view scene, best hacker scene, best voiceover, best cringe scene. And the results of the Patreon jury, our next episode is going to be, and it's going to be your topic, best point of view scene, best POV.
Okay, right. Okay.
So, think of it. You've got your killer POV.
I'm like going, okay, those ones, okay. So this is what I love about this is it's making me go very scene specific, very very scene specific rather than genre. So that's really good. So we can kind of go all over the genre, all over the map with genres, but it's making me very scene specific. Okay, that's good. That's good. Focused.
It is.
Topic.
I'll very quickly run through our outro. Let's see if I can do it really quickly.
Okay.
If you enjoyed this episode, already fucked it up.
Come on, get there.
If you enjoyed this episode, you can become a patron and you'll get double us, as you often say, over on our Patreon, or you can become an Apple subscriber. Just click subscribe. It's for the price of a flat white or coffee, whatever you want to drink yourself, but it's not much. You'll get all of our bonus shows. They come out in between our main shows. We put an awful lot of effort into those as well. They're long form. They're called mini bits. I don't know why they're called mini bits. They're more like major bits.
Yeah.
Giving us a rating or a review on your podcast app of choice. That will help spread the word. And have I forgotten anything? I don't think so.
I think that's all it. You give us the rating, you said that, and give us a thumbs up or a 5-star rating or whatever it is. That's
we're entirely funded by listeners. You're the guys keeping us going. If you want to ensure that we are still around doing this while we're rotting in front of the camera, then become a patron.
Please do. Absolutely. It's the reason this show can continue to be made. So, that was a good topic.
I enjoyed it, and I'm glad it's over. Talk to you soon.
All right, bye.
I'm going to hit stop.
The Best Bits podcast is produced by Will and Kevin.
All audio clips and music heard in this episode is the intellectual property of the respective copyright holders, and no infringement is intended.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider becoming a Patreon member, where you'll receive bonus shows where we talk about recent releases and what we're up to.
And you'll receive access to our Discord chat room, where we hang out with our listeners.
Search the Best Bits podcast on Patreon or click on the link in the show notes.
And here is a clip from the lads' latest Mini Bits bonus show. The full episode, plus 100 more, are available on their Patreon.
Hello, everybody. This is my internal monologue. What are we gonna do today? Why don't we do another podcast? I like making podcasts. Do you like to listen? It makes me feel creative and gives me a purpose in life. I don't feel so depressed. Oh, shit. My favorite podcast is a podcast with my best friend.
Talking to you, stupid cunt.
Where is he? Will? He's not here. Will? Oh, no. Where's Will? Is he dead? Oh no, he's here!
So what's the story, Kevin?
Not today, depression. Not today.
Mini Bits Raw.
This is Mini Bits, episode 85,
I think. I'm going to have to check now.
Oh, holy shit.
I'm going to have to check.
So we've done more Mini Bits episodes than we have done main shows.
Yeah, because we're lazy. Yeah, this is Mini Bits 85.
My God, 85. Holy shit.
And what did you think of that theme tune, Will?
I was probably the one that we're going to submit to the Grammys this year.
I don't even know what it is. I'll probably use the craziest one. I'll use the cartoon one, because that one is... Okay. I shared that with a patron of ours, Dean, and he goes, that is disturbing. I thought...
That's exactly what...
That makes me laugh. As you well know, my humor is trolling. I like to shock people. And it never gets me in trouble.
Never. You never follow foul. Your sense of humor has always led you down the best possible path for you.
That's what people say about me. He's very pleasant. He's not at all antagonistic and confrontational.
That thing he said. What was all that about?
How was your Halloween?
My Halloween? Oh, listen, I've got 3 kids, and so we had a mighty Halloween.
Where'd you get them?
It was a deal on Temu. Temu.
Oh, Temu.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
One of them's missing a leg. Another one's got a kind of a floppy eye, which kind of pops out of its eye socket. But you know what? Grand for the price.
I once bought a coat off of... Why is that? It's not Temu. What's the other... Alibaby or Alibaba or whatever it is.
Right. I don't know.
And it came, and I think it was for a child. It was like Asian sizes. It was large, but large for maybe a 10-year-old. And I thought, what the hell? And it took about 6 weeks to get here. And this was before everyone sort of like was aware that those websites are scam websites, essentially.
Yeah. You're just going to get screwed. It reminds me of that time, and I remember this was like this was a friend of Karen's that it happened to, but I know what's happened to other people where they'd bought a new house or something like that, and they were buying furniture, and they ended up buying like furniture for a really cheap price online, but it ended up being like miniature furniture,
dolls furniture.
Yeah. It was so cheap. God. I had to buy it like right now. But we had a great Halloween. We went trick-or-treating. All the kids got dressed up, and we joined in with all the other kids and went around the local neighbourhood and scared the shit out of people.
This was the first Halloween in the UK that reminded me of Halloween at home.
Oh, in what way?
So it's picked up a lot. So obviously growing up in Cork, Halloween was huge. Halloween was a big thing. You'd go up with your dolly mixtures and you could batter all the people that are walking by, just chucking washing up liquid and rotten eggs at them. You'd be preparing for weeks for it. And you'd have a great time. And usual things of wearing your plastic masks and your bin bags and you're bobbing for apples and you're doing all that stuff. Watching horror movies. Halloween is my favourite time of year. I love it. But in the UK, Halloween just passed everybody by. They wouldn't celebrate it. It was just not a thing. It's the same way that Paddy's Day is not really celebrated in the UK. They might do something here and there, but they're not going to have... For a while, there was Paddy's Day parades in London, and they can either take it or leave it. Sometimes they have it, sometimes they don't. But this Halloween, I was out robbing houses, and everybody was out. There was kids all over the place in costumes, people going trick-or-treating, and I thought, my God, it's turned into how it is at home. It's become an actual thing, Halloween is... People had their houses decorated with Halloween ornaments and stuff.
Good.
Yeah.
We were
good.
We were reminiscing about the old games, like you were just describing, bobbing for apples, right? And how so many of those old games were so...
Getting a 50p stuck in your teeth.
Yeah, gross and unhygienic. So bobbing for apples, imagine, the first person who bobbed for apples with their mouth open and their snottery nose in that bowl of water. Imagine then the 5th, 6th, 7th person who's going in there. And then, do you ever do the one where they were like hanging an apple off a string on a door frame and
there's always a 6-year-old. There's always a 6-year-old who's got a perpetual snotty nose, and they're the first in, licking the apple.
Tonguing the apple, tonguing it. Now who's next? Come on, little Mary, come on. Don't worry about Johnny's rash around his mouth. It's fine.
You've reminded me, I forgot about the apple on a string.
Yeah.
It's like a piñata, you're trying to bite into it.
Yeah. And then Serena, Karen's cousin, reminded me of one which we used to do, was you would make a little kind of like volcano or a mountain of flour and put like a grape or something on top of it. And the game was, it was kind of like Jenga. With a knife, you would cut pieces, slice down the mountain of flour and remove it.
And not have the grape fall.
Yeah. So the person who eventually causes the grape to fall gets their face slammed into the flour. Did you ever play that one?
We would put angel dust on like sweets and put them out for the kids. That's what we would do. That was always good crack. Yeah. Kids run up down the street screaming, being chased by phantoms. But you know what? The picture that you shared of the kids, I realised I'm ancient because I did not recognise a single one of the characters they were dressed up as, apart from Jack Skellington. I was like, that's your man from Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah. The rest of them, don't know what they were, whether they were video game characters or memes.
There was one that was Avatar.
Or whatever.
There was one Avatar one.
I thought it was a Smurf.
Well, the lighting was the actual... I didn't take that photograph. The lighting wasn't good. If I'd have had them positioned the other way around, you'd be able to see. So there was one dressed as Avatar. There was one dressed as Jack Skellington. My son was the Headless Horseman, and Ellie was...
But he had a head.
He should have... This is one... I've been I've been kicking myself. I was like going, why didn't we just like get a football and just draw a face on it and put some sort of wig on it?
Don't kick yourself.
Oh God, yeah. I should have kicked him. Yeah, exactly. Ellie was a mad scientist. Chloe was a witch, and I can't remember what the rest of them.
But
were.
was Ellie a mad scientist based on any character? Because I was looking at it thinking, is that Dr. Horrible, or is it some sort of like?
No, it's not a specific character. No, it was just a generic.
Oh well, then there you go.
Doc Brown-esque, but it's just a generic kind of mad scientist. So that's what she kind of went as.
I find it funny that the Americans, they tend to dress up as memes and like obscure characters, like somebody from a commercial, somebody from a game show, somebody from some viral video online.
Yeah.
And it's like, has anybody ever heard of a vampire or a werewolf or something? Like, you're meant to be scary stuff.
Do you know, I saw
go
online a really funny one where some kids
put some blood in your teeth, like put some vampire fangs in. Be Pam Anderson from Baywatch as a zombie. You've got to put a spin on it.
I had one of the most mortifying best bits related moments happen to me on the street about an hour ago, right? And I think I need to share this.
Oh,
right?
I love mortifying stories.
Okay, so let me set the scene for you, right? I had to post a box, basically, right? So it was lunch break, and Karen says, "You want to go and do it today?" And I went, "Yeah, let's go in and do it." So I went in, and she said, "Right, I'll pull up beside the post office because there's no parking inside the town. I'll pull up beside you hop out at the Diamond, and I'll loop around and pick you up." So I said, "Grand." So we pulled up at the Diamond, and I hopped out of the car. She was barely stopped. Hopped out of the car. Donegal's full of tourists, so you're used to kind of seeing strange faces. But as soon as I hopped out of the car, I saw this guy who was with a bunch of other people across the other side of the Diamond, and I immediately recognized his face. And I just went, oh my God. Like, this all happened now in space of 5 seconds. And I recognized his face because it was 100% Patrick, our patron and Discord member, Patrick.
Who, we went to the bar after our live show.
Right? So it was Patrick. And Patrick was not...
Patrick McGinley.
Patrick McGinley. And Patrick was shouting at these other people who obviously he was kind of going like, hey, and he was walking across the let's say the crosswalk, the zebra crossing across the Diamond. And for a laugh, because I spotted him, and I went, I'm just going to slot right in beside Patrick and see if he fucking recognizes me. And I'll say, this all took place in the course of 10 seconds, right? I, with my box under my arm, slid in beside Patrick, and I said, I could see he was shouting at these people. And I says, Patrick, you got to keep a close eye on those ones because I say they're robbing place blind. So get close to him now, Patrick. I just was rising him, say, Patrick, come on now. And he was looking at me like, what the fuck are you saying? I said, Patrick, go on. They're like, you're going to lose them. Come on, hurry up. Come on. So I was walking along beside Patrick. Patrick didn't know what was going on. And
was it Patrick?
When we got to the other side of the road, Patrick turned to me and he says, I'm Liam. He says, I'm Liam. Right.
Patrick has a German accent, Will. Did you not?
But he had
pick up on it.
But this is the thing. He had a hint because Patrick's got a very convincing. But this guy had the same type of accent.
He's got a German lilt to it. Patrick,
but this guy had a German lilt as well. So it was like exactly the same. Look.
Maybe it was Patrick, and he just didn't want to be seen with you.
But you want to know what happened to me?
That makes complete sense.
As soon as my face
I saw you the other day in town, and I walked across the other road.
So I kind of slapped him on the. This is not the first time I've embarrassed myself in the Diamond like this, right?
Slapped him on the arse.
I slapped him on the arse.
Patrick, how's it going, buddy?
Chat to you later, sugar tits. I just slapped him on the back and I says, "Oh,
there
Jesus.
He is. My favourite cheeky chap."
I said, I'm so sorry. I thought you were Patrick. So I went walking back across the road and I went, oh, fuck it. I actually do know him, Liam. I actually do know him. And he's
my God,
he's an actor.
You're sundowning.
That's the thing. I totally recognized him. And
I've done that actually. But they're an actor.
They're an actor. So he's an actor, but he was in Song of the Sea. So this is the reason.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Yeah, so he's an actor.
He knew you as well.
No, he didn't recognize me because he was obviously trying to catch up with the people on the other side.
They're all cartoons in Song of the Sea. How did you recognize him as a cartoon?
He was the only cartoon walking around. Oh God! So I walked away.
Do you know I went into the Groucho Club in London, and I was walking in to meet a couple of friends in there, and this was at the stage where I was just meeting everybody, and so I was being sent around to all these meetings, and I walked in, and there was this blonde woman, and I recognized her immediately, and I went, "Oh, hi, how are you?" I was like, because I thought I just met her recently, and then I went, "Oh, sorry, I thought I knew you," and she was like, "Oh, it's fine. It was my Anna Burning." What the fuck? I should have just made up a name. I should have said it was Kate Blanchett or something, because you don't know who that is.
How do you feel when you switch to Geico and save on your car insurance? It's like going to work on one Thursday morning and thinking to yourself, just one more day until Friday. But then somebody in the elevator says, "Happy Friday!" Then you check your phone quickly and discover today is actually Friday. So yes, happy Friday, random stranger in the elevator. Happy Friday indeed. Yep, switching and saving with Geico feels just like that. Get more with Geico.